Okay, hey everyone, welcome to Varjo HQ, live from Helsinki. Today we have a session of Art of Virtual Flying, and I have a very, very special guest here with me. Steven, welcome to Varjo.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today. I mean, I've just had the most amazing time here, so yeah, it's great to be here.
And we are super excited. This is the first time that we actually have anyone from our community visiting us here live.
Yeah, literally amazing.
Yeah, and we are super stoked that it's you because you've been part of the story of Varjo Aero. And we are big fans of the things that you are doing. So,
thank you.
So it's really great to have you here today. Short introductions first, I guess, are in place. So I'm Jussi Mäkinen, I'm Chief Brand Officer. Unfortunately, Urho couldn't be here with us today, but that won't slow us down, definitely. And like said, Steve, aka many of you might know him better as the VR flight sim guy. So again.
Yeah.
Maybe a short introduction.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm just laughing when you said VR flight sim guy, because I remember when I named my channel that, you know, it was sort of just a bit of a placeholder, but it just stuck, and it's been that ever since, really. But yeah, it's incredible how the channel has been built up to the point where we're here doing this. And I think it never was my intention to have a YouTube channel that sort of grew so much, but I think there's so many people out there like me that really value that experience of flying and getting it as close to that experience as you possibly can. And it's been something that I've always wanted to happen for such a long time now, you know, and ever since I was a kid, like, aviation has been such a huge part of me, and sort of, I remember when I went to my first ever air show, you know, and I think it was the Red Arrows or something. I was like 7 years old. I think there was some sort of moment in me that changed forever. And when I had my first flight, real flight, just as soon as I was up in the air, I just thought, this is where I wanted to be. I love flying so much, but it's quite difficult to be a real-world pilot, of course, and to have all those qualifications and the expense. So I've always been thirsty to try and find a way of flying that could be so authentic, but yet you could do it in the safety of your own home. And of course, flight simulation has always been around. 40 years or more now, like literally, but
absolutely,
it's just got more and more incredible as time's gone on.
Yeah,
really.
yeah, definitely, and you know, if I think about myself, I've never been a big flight sim fan back in the day when it was only 2D screens, right?
Yeah,
but
2D.
The moment you know put the headset on and you're in a Microsoft flight sim in top of Tokyo, like you're like, you know, I could do this. I could do this all day.
This all day, every day.
Yeah. So it's you know, it's a super interesting topic and a use case, and let's go today in this session, you know, deeply into that one. How you became part of that, how, you know, Varjo became part of that, and this is truly about the kind of like the, as we call it, the community session. So please ask us questions. There is submit in the Q&A tool. So in the Zoom, so just, you know, look for that icon and let us know your questions, and we will be both answering those at the end of the session. Maybe we start with a short video. You can see in the back there's a motion platform with a nice slogan, Rise Beyond Reality. So that's a motion platform that we have here in our Varjo atrium. So as you can see, the virtual flying is a big part of what we do here, at least every Friday after all the meetings are done, and you know, it's one of the best things ever. So we actually recorded a short video of you trying it out yesterday
for the first time.
So let's see that video.
Right, I'll step in, and here we go. This is it. Right, this is the best way to do this, and I feel like I'm getting into a real aircraft. So cool. Wow. This is great. I'm already smiling my head off. I haven't even tried it yet. Trim, yeah. Trim, yeah. Flaps. Oh, right, yeah. In fact, that will need that, actually, because... So is this prop pitch? Yeah. So I'll have that fully forward then. Here we go. Right, so this is it then. Where we're going, folks. My first flight using a motion rig. And wow, what a place to do it, at Varjo. Yeah, no, this is a Waddington in Lincolnshire. Actually, it's not far from my where I live. Oh, this feels. Yeah, this is going to make me want a motion platform when I get home. That's not good. See, I've always said that now we've got the resolution of the aero, what we need is to feel the feedback, and this is exactly what I'm feeling right now, and it just feels like this is like real flying now. It actually makes you fly better because you can feel everything. This is literally the dream, isn't it? This is the dream. A Varjo aero and a motion rig. That's what you need. I could totally be in here for hours and hours, all day, no problem at all. Everything's so nice and clear as well. Beautiful. I'm actually surprised how natural this feels. I thought it would feel quite strange, but this, with the translation between VR and how I'm feeling as well in the cockpit, it just feels so natural, like I'm actually flying. Wow, I actually feel that. I even feel when I moved up there, the bit of turbulence in the air, I felt that. Oh, this is the dream. This is absolutely the dream doing this. I'm so jealous. I want to do this every day. All right, no pressure then. See if I can do a decent landing here. That is exceptional. That is fantastic. Oh, well, we made it without crashing. Wow, that is so. Oh God, that is incredible. That is absolutely amazing. I want one. Can I have one? I want one for Christmas.
So yeah, that's definitely one of the perks of working here at Varjo.
If I worked here, I'd just be on that all the time. I'd be a really bad employee because I'd be like, where is he? Where's Steve gone? Oh, he's in the motion rig again. That's
exactly what we're doing here most of the day. But no, but it really kind of adds to the kind of motion and realism, and we even had that kind of like belts that tighten you up when the G-forces.
Yeah.
So,
it's funny watching that because I do get so giddy when I get in VR. I get so like emotional almost when I'm in VR, and that's because of it's a true, genuine feeling. And if I ever show YouTube videos, because sometimes I do, very rarely, out of VR, I always sound a bit flat and a bit kind of like, and I don't mean to be, but there's something about VR that really encapsulates that feeling of flight.
Yeah.
But I've never tried a motion rig before. That was the first time.
Yeah.
And as I say, I was expecting it to be almost overemphasised and a bit fake, but it was absolutely. I've been flying quite a bit this week, actually, in real life.
Really?
Yeah,
oh,
I have. And
It's,
in fact, it was perfect timing because going into that straight away. I think it's those subtle movements that you feel translated as well as being in VR. It's the missing puzzle piece. And it was just the most incredible.
That's super interesting. I never, flown myself as a plane, but it's incredible that now with today's technology, with the headset and the right software, you can get as close as you can, without doing it real. So I think that's one of the things why I love working with technology and working with stuff like what we're doing at Varjo, and it's just like, it's been amazing. But about the journey, so can you share a little bit more about your flight sim background? What got you in the flight sims, in the VR? Like what was the journey like?
Yeah, I mean, again, I was just like any other flight simmer out there. I just wanted the most authentic experience I possibly could get without getting a real pilot's license, of course. And I'm quite lucky to do a fair bit of real-world flying anyway. So it's interesting that I can compare that these days. But back in the day when I was a lot younger, it was just a case of just grabbing my hands on any technology I can, or could rather, just to get that feeling. And I've been doing flight sims. Even when I was at school, I was like so geeky enough to start a flight sim club. I remember that. And
how many years ago was this?
Oh well, I mean, how long ago was that? It was like in the 90s anyway, so 90s. And people think I'm probably younger than I am, but I'll leave it there. But yeah, and just, I think it was like FS5 or something, really just pixelated graphics and triangles and things. And even then that was like amazing back in the day. But I do remember the very first time I tried VR, to me that was a real point in my sort of my own thirst for that immersion, it changed everything forever.
Right.
Like, literally changed everything for that. But I did notice
when
straight away.
was this, by the way, the first time you tried
Trying
VR?
to think, when was it? Because I just bought a VR headset, just kind of, it was like on a whim, just spontaneous. I thought, I've got to try this out. And I think it was when the Oculus CV1, so it was probably about a year after that got released. So it was a long time ago now. And I remember thinking, this experience is just absolutely, it's changed my way of thinking about flying forever. And even though it was low resolution, I still would prefer to do that than flying on a massive screen like that, personally. Because that situational awareness.
I totally get it, because for me, flight sims, 2D screens were like, well, yeah, it's nice, but it's nothing compared to the fact that when you put the headset on and you feel like you're inside the plane.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely, yeah. Because I think VR and flying together, it seemed to me to be a perfect combination that fit really well. Because you feel the height, you feel sort of the speed and as I say again, the situation where when you're in the pattern, the VFR, you're looking outside the cockpit. I remember actually when I did some real world sort of like training, I was going to do my PPL at one point, but I ran out of money like most people when they're doing something like this. I kept getting told to stop looking at the instruments and looking around more. And that's something that VR does give you, is that you kind of look beyond the cockpit and your environment, and then it all comes together and connects together. And that's
I think that's super interesting. When Varjo was founded about more than 6 years ago, the first of the use cases that we kind of envisioned for this human eye resolution capability was virtual flying and flight simulation, because you had to understand all the meters, all the details, be able to read all the meters and see in distance. And this was the thing that back in the day that just wasn't possible, right? So you couldn't have that and the same understanding as in real life. So it's been kind of part of the story of Varjo, even though of course we started from the kind of professional space, but kind of like having that one now for the enthusiast, thanks to many incredible softwares like the flight sim, is I think it's mind-blowing, and I'm now really into those. So
really, that's good to know.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I don't have that long journey as you have, but I think it's just a power that VR can have, that kind of power to get people into totally new things that they weren't before. But I think it's really cool to hear that you have such a long history from all the way from pixelated, like
bit of an old timer,
BGA
to be honest.
This one.
I am, and I love all the flight sims, but I think this last year or so has been a really important shift. I think there's a lot of new flight simmers out there now. And there's so many different ways you can fly. You don't have to be really serious and learn all the checklist. You can just do it as a way of relaxation and stuff, and sometimes I do it. It's a way of de-stressing, and I think VR has that ability to make you feel very present within the moment. That can be very powerful, I think, and whether that just translates to just, as you say, flying in a beautiful scenic location. VR does that, but it also helps with real-world training and everything in between as well. So really cool.
But I think it's also, like you said, you're flying the real planes and then flying virtual. Do you so that you fly the same routes or the same thing?
Yes, exactly. Like the first thing I'm going to do when I get home is fly from Manchester to Helsinki, because that's what we did today.
Exactly.
To get
you need
here.
to do a flyby of
will.
our office.
Absolutely, I will.
And by the way, how does this all go together with your day job? Like, how do you? Is there a relation to your day job of this?
No, not really. Literally, my day job, I'm a music therapist by day and a flight simmer by night. And it's actually a very demanding job, and I think maybe that's why I love it so much, because I do have a very busy sort of day job. So when I get home, I just love flying in VR.
And I totally get it. Like, I have 2 small kids, and nothing is better. Like after everybody is sleeping, you're flying over Tokyo. Well, that's at least for me. But
really,
I totally
that's your special VR place. Yeah,
that's my place.
Absolutely.
I used to live there, so that's why I like to go there. Okay, cool. Let's talk about a little bit the aero, and I think it's really fitting that you're here, because some time ago at Varjo we were doing only professional devices, But then voices from the community.
I know, this is so amazing.
Started to come through, and thanks, by the way, for all of those voices, and keep on letting us know how we're doing, how we can do better. But it was all about like, hey, the professional product that we're doing, how could we and should we do a product that serves enthusiasts, those people who really want to have the best of the best for the product. And we did a research project on that one, and thanks to you, we're part of that. We did an interviews, we showed the product concept and so on. So that was a kind of like kind of birth of Varjo Aero as a product, as a name, Aero.
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with flight simming as well. But let's go back a little bit. Like, how did you first hear about Varjo yourself?
Yeah, well, I think it was one of your company's always been on my kind of like radar. I think every flight simmer's radar, to think that we all know that your main goal, or one of the main goals, is to have that most incredible sort of high resolution and that immersion that no other VR headset so far, in my opinion, hasn't got that far. And so I always knew with your high-end devices that I always thought, if there was a possible way, any way, that we could get our hands on this somehow. And I was very, very privileged that when I did reach out to you guys, that I was able to loan the VR3.
Yeah.
And at that point, I didn't really know what to expect from that headset at the time, having used many other high-resolution VR headsets. Because I've got too many of them as it is. Well, most of my subscribers will know I've got like a man cave full of VR headsets. It's ridiculous. So when I tried that, I felt both like just absolutely mind blown. I was just so incredibly amazed with that resolution, but also very sad at the same time, thinking I can see what the future is in terms of what we need for VR clarity, but we can't quite get there because, of course, it's for professional users really. So I just thought, why don't let's just shout as loud as possible in the comments, and just on videos to say that if there's any way that we could get this resolution, this kind of clarity and quality within their consumer product, a high-end sort of prosumer product. I mean, it was a long shot, but I thought, why not? And I could not believe the response. I mean, that video got well into 100,000 views, which for my channel, that's huge. That's huge views for my channel, very, very quickly. And people were advocating for that same thing. They really wanted that to happen. And I thought, yes, we're actually at this point, we're pulling together as a community to say to you guys, please, we want a headset that we're able to, access without any subscription, but to have that same quality that you're known for.
Yeah, and we at Varjo, we are enthusiasts. Most of here we are enthusiasts. We follow the videos.
I've learned that,
We follow we follow you. We follow Thrill Seeker. We follow Mixed Reality TV. We follow all these kind of media. So kind of like we are really into this, and the voice really gets heard.
Absolutely,
it absolutely gets heard. So. And through our Discord channel and everything, that kind of like gets definitely heard. But how did you feel being part of the kind of like the research project for the Varjo Aero? I presented a bunch of slides and propositions. How did you feel about it, being part of that?
I think the first thing was a huge sense of responsibility, because I knew this was a big thing. This was like a massive shift in perhaps not just the flight simulation genre, but in the gaming VR industry as well, and of course for the race sim community, this was a big moment, and it had to be right. So I did get a few other YouTubers on board as well, and I want to mention these guys because they was a big part of this as well. The Sim Hanger, Mark from the Sim Hanger, if you're watching this, thank you for your support, as well as the VR Pilot, amazing channel. Those guys know VR as much as me, if not, they've got more. I mean, together the knowledge base is incredible, and I learn a lot from other YouTubers as well, and to have that amount of weight to be able to sort of navigate the development of the Aero was so important, I thought. And yeah, it was a great time because I felt like it was really being listened to as well. It was all the suggestions we were making. It's one of those things where we really felt like we was part of that development of the Aero.
Yeah.
And I'm super proud of that. I am super proud that we was able to pull that one off.
And we haven't done anything like that before. That it was the first time we thought like, hey, let's actually, you know, talk with the users, take them part of the developing of this product, you know, ask them what the proposition should be. And it was an exciting thing, like a new thing. First of for us was as well, but we were super happy about the outcome, and big thanks for, you know, being part of that one, showing your passion, and to everybody else, of course, you know, in the community and making videos. We are super grateful of all that kind of feedback, and, you know, great feedback, you know, development ideas, keep them coming, because we are 100%, you know, kind of listening. But the interesting, I think the story for us at Varjo was that it was the first time when the product, the Varjo Aero, came from the lab, and, you know, I was thinking about how should we name it, right? Like, what's the name? I didn't want to call it the, you know, VR 4 or whatever, I was thinking about the names, and a big part of that naming came from the flight sim community, and the Aero was fitting. There's a funny story. Aero is actually the name, the Finnair, the flight company of Finland. It was before it was called Finnair. It was called the Aero.
I never knew that.
Yeah,
Did you know that, guys? That was that's the first. I never knew that.
So Finnair, great company. Aero, great headset. But the story that I was getting to is the first time it came from the lab, and I put it on my head, and people here put it on their head. They were like absolutely floored, floored about the image quality, of the comfort and all that. So I think out of the, you know, all the products and prototypes we've been doing, that has been one of the definite kind of wow moments for me and people here, putting it there in their heads. How was it for you, the first time you just tried it out?
I was like, hang on a minute, this actually looks better than the VR3. And the reason why is because obviously you cannot use that mini OLED 75 pixels per degree display in, say, Steam VR anyway. So that's really for a professional case. So when I did try the VR3, I was actually just using the peripheral display anyway, which is the same, I think, as the Aero, isn't it?
It's the same.
But the difference is that it's actually a brighter display. It's not driving those panels as well. It means that you get a more vivid response from the screen. So my first thought was, this is actually better. And it's lighter as well, because obviously it doesn't have all those screens in. So I was blown away with it, and I think you could probably tell on that video, because I did literally just, I thought, you know, I'm not going to do a really scripted video. I'm just going to show my first moments in the headset, because I think that's the most genuine way I can show it off. So as soon as I put it on, I just put the camera rolling, or the video, and I actually got emotional, and it sounds crazy, and I wasn't going to use that as part of the video. So I scrapped it. I thought, I'm not using that, it's too ridiculous. But then I thought, you know what? No, I'm going to use that, because people, the flight simmers, VR users out there, this kind of thing is as important to them as it is for me. They need to see that. They need to see that. And
I'm the same, you know, I get, you know, super emotional when I see, you know, the latest things that we are doing with our headset, or the latest games or the demos. And I think this kind of like evoking these emotions is one of the best parts of, you know, technology nowadays that can have. So you know, we're lucky to live in this age now with this kind of technology.
Totally, absolutely.
So has that anyway kind of changed the way that you do flying or anything with this kind of extra kind of immersion or do you kind of like recognize any changes, like how you approach flying?
I fly more.
Exactly.
I fly a lot more. Like literally, like pretty much every day I'm in VR at some point, I think. And
that's a great acid test, because that's exactly what we're doing every day.
I know. It's funny, because I never used to really flight simming. I used to kind of go back to it every now and then, do loads of it, and then, you know, but now I do it. It's important for me, because obviously I've got this YouTube channel, so it's important for me to sometimes just fly for myself. In fact, I probably fly more for myself than do videos. That gives you an idea how much I fly, because I post a lot of videos. But I think it's important to maintain that sort of enthusiasm and that passion for myself as well. But yeah, I think if anything, I now fly more complex aircraft now, because I can see better. Because that was always the issue for me. For some people, I mean, VR is a very personal thing, and sometimes it might be a wider field of view you want. But for me personally, it's always been first and foremost that clarity, because it's linked with comfort and eye fatigue and everything. I don't think I've ever flown so much in VR as with the Aero. I'm just trying to think, my longest session was about...
Yeah, how long? That's actually really
It's actually embarrassing, this is.
No, I think it's
7 hours long, 7 hours.
7 hours
I've flown
with Aero?
Yeah, I'm trying to, yeah.
I think you will get some kind of award from Varjo for that one. We will do it.
With a bit of, maybe a cup of tea break and then back into VR. So not completely, but I mean like literally 7 hours in VR.
That's amazing.
I've never been able to do that before, literally. So thinking about it from that point of view.
Okay, 7 hours. If somebody can do better in the community,
please do.
Let us know. So send us a video.
I'll do like a live stream. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's incredible. I think it's really great. And I like I said, the emotion that comes through from the videos. That's, I have to say, it's not only about like, hey, yeah, great, we made a great headset, but it's also a big inspiration for the people working at Varjo.
Yeah.
Like really, you know, we have developers, we have product people, coders, designers. When they see that emotion, I would claim that, you know, that is a source of inspiration for making, you know, better products and more products. So, you know, big thank you, and it really kind of makes a difference. And the next clip we're going to show you is part of these reactions, and you know, I just love it. So let's put it to play, maybe.
This is unbelievable. This is absolutely unfriggin' believable. How is this even possible? Oh my goodness me. This is such a special moment. I want everybody to experience this. This is a total game changer, a sim changer. I have never seen anything like this. And to think that this headset is a consumer level headset. We don't have to pay a subscription, and it looks every bit as good as the Varjo VR3. This is an absolute revelation. Oh my God, guys, I actually feel emotional here. I feel emotional because I know what this means. Not just to me, but to you guys. I know what this means. We've wanted this for so long. We've wanted this experience for so long, and we've got it.
That was great. That was super great. And
it's quite weird watching that back. I haven't actually watched that since I made the video. It's like, got to me a bit there.
Yeah. And you know, the people here looking at that video who've been struggling with the you know, spending long hours here, not only, you know, flying, but also, you know, coding and making this happen. I think for them, that kind of feedback, it really matters. Like, you know, it really matters on a personal level and a level of like, you know, why we do this. So, you know, that's the reason why we do this. So it's meaningful. Big thank you.
I think just as well, like, I think another reason why it's so important to me is because, like, guys, this is your first attempt at a consumer VR headset.
Yeah.
And it's not perfect, of course it isn't.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's areas that could be improved. And to think that this is your first device, and it's that good, like, I'm really looking forward to seeing what's happening in the future. I really am.
Exactly. We all are. But yeah, and I think the fact that we came from the, you know, the demands that we have from these, you know, air flight companies and these professional companies and car designers and all that, they're pretty, you know, the demands are pretty high. So that has definitely helped us. But that said, now the kind of like the feedback and the community kind of feedback that gets to us is even better in a way, because it's varied. It's varied. We get new ideas, new insights. So it's really.
The thing is about this community is it's very passionate. So I'd imagine. How does it actually, I'll ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because how does it stack up compared to your professional customers, sort of having to, now you're in the consumer space, because especially for flight simmers, their needs are so demanding, as you probably realise now. They are. And it's only because it's driven by passion and because they want that immersion. How is that, have you learned a lot from that?
Absolutely, and it's really great that you ask it, because it stacks up really high. I was just in a product leadership meeting just before I came to this session. So and we were discussing the feedback that comes from the community. We were discussing all these kind of things, and how important they are, and how do we put them in our roadmap. So it is super, super important.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the feedback that we get from all these simulation companies that are making these rigs for commercial airlines to train their staff and train people who are flying jet fighters and so on, and really kind of seeing how coherent that kind of feedback is in many ways. I think it's supremely inspiring and really important, and that's a big part of why we wanted to do product for the enthusiasts, so that we can learn, so that we can kind of learn from the passion from the community and turn that into a great product knowledge. And I think the feedback that we get from the community helps us to make a better professional product, and the same way the feedback that comes from us from the professionals makes us make a better product for everyone.
So actually both are helping each other out now.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
and it becomes a richer kind of context.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
It makes a richer context for the whole kind of like development. Cool. Now let's talk about a little bit about your setup. I think that's very interesting, what kind of different kind of setups people have at home. So can you just briefly introduce like what's the setup you have at the home for?
Yeah,
for
sure.
flying?
Well, I mean, I think I'll probably just mention first of all that VR is such a pig to get right. And I want to say this because I know, guys, in the comments, you'll probably, I'm sure every flight simmer has struggled with performance because VR is still very much in its infancy and hardware is kind of only just catching up, and we've got a ways to go as well. So it's so important to, first of all, get a good sort of, setup. And I'm by no means an expert at all, but it is something that is quite hard to kind of get right, and it's always been changed and tweaked. And the great thing about many sims, I mean, like DCS, but particularly with Microsoft Flight Simulator, it's always constantly evolving. And with recent tweaks and recent updates, we're getting that performance now. It's starting to come in through. But I do run quite a beastly computer because you have to. A lot of that is because of recording, because when you're recording as well as in VR, it takes a lot of power.
So which GPU you're running?
I'm running a 3090 at the moment, an RTX 3090. But I've decided actually that I'm gonna sounds crazy, but I'm gonna get two different computers. I want to get a really high-end computer, which is what I have now, but also a medium spec computer, because I think a lot of people out there were probably more likely running probably a 20 series, like a 2080 or maybe a 3070 kind of GPU, which, trust me, a 3070, that actually runs out really well. I was very surprised by that. So I think that way I can sort of, because it would make sense for me to have something crazy powerful and then recommend setup guides. It's going to be in because I'm going to have a powerful computer. So having both a medium and high spec computer
that's really cool.
would make more sense. So I'm looking into that in the very near future, actually.
Exactly.
Right.
What about the controllers, like HOTAS? What kind of system you have?
Yeah, nothing that incredible, really. I just use the Honeycomb Alpha yoke, I think it's called.
A yoke.
Before that, I used to use a CH yoke, and that thing lasted about 15 years. Literally, it's like every time I've moved house or something or whatever, it's been thrown in the back, of a van or something or whatever. Or, because my desk is, because I record bands and things as well. So my space is very busy, and so I can just basically, I need something that can click on and off. So I used to use that for quite a while. But my setup is not top of the range at all. You can spend a crazy amount of money, just like you can on VR headsets with hardware as well. I mean, for instance, that in the background. It's incredible. But I've used the same set of rudder pedals for the past 10 years now. I am probably going to upgrade soon, but I want people to know that you don't need the latest and greatest hardware to enjoy VR. I certainly don't have that.
I absolutely agree. I've been flying with the Microsoft Flight Sim, and without that one in one of our other rooms, and I just had the joystick. And it's still like, it transcends the experience.
Of course,
as long as you're sitting somewhere comfortably and you're doing it.
Just don't use a mouse and keyboard. I won't go quite that far. I think at least get yourself a cheap joystick or something, and you're good to go with that.
Exactly.
Just to get you into it.
So what kind of flight sessions you typically have? Like what's a typical session that you'll do?
Well, unless I'm tearing my hair out trying to make a video, because they're so hard to make in VR, really hard. You wouldn't believe how long it takes to make a VR video sometimes. But for my own personal use, in fact, actually, we've just got back, me and my partner, Melissa, we've just got back from a 3.5-week tour of Norway on a motorbike.
Nice.
And we went right up to the Arctic Circle and back. And the first thing I did when I got home is basically plot the route and then just recreate that route in VR.
Yeah.
And there was many times where, and this sounds crazy, okay, I know it sounds crazy, but there's many times during my VR experience when I was flying over the same sort of place. Well, I even remembered the conversations we had, me and Melissa had, just because I felt like I was sort of not back there as such. I knew I was obviously in VR, but there was something that happened with my memory, and I recognize certain places, like you do in real life. If you go somewhere, you remember certain memories. That kind of happened, but in VR, which was mind-blowing, you know. So
exactly.
I do use VR and flying for touring, like, you know, and sightseeing and recreating routes and things like that. Because it's just
kind of like going back into the memory lane. I have the same thing with Tokyo, as I used to live there, and you used to go there, and well, there was my place, and there was. It
looks so good in there because with the photogrammetry as well.
Exactly.
So,
you're kind of like, you know, you have a place to teleport immediately to somewhere place, like just floating there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And of course, there's other, you know, sometimes I like to be a bit more serious about it and learn an aircraft. Like there was a particular airliner I learned recently, the Just Flight 146, which is a beautiful airliner, and it's the work that they put into that is insane. And it takes, like, you know, print off the manual, it's like this big, and to work through everything. Now, before, I'd be doing that in 2D mode, of course, because it gets back to that clarity again. But now I'm able to learn where things are in the cockpit, muscle memory, as well as sort of knowing where things are in the cockpit, you know, just because of the VR experience and the clarity. It's a huge, really rewarding thing. And every now and then I'll treat myself to a flight in an aircraft like that, and I'll do everything as close to real life as I possibly can. And then when you land, it's like, and you've done everything right, it just feels so good. So that's the sort of hardcore way of doing it. But then sometimes I'll just relax and just go into it and just chill out and go for a flight with my community members. You know, we'll often do a YouTube flight together, and that's fantastic too.
I think that's a good idea. We should sometime organize.
We should do a
joint flight with the Varjo people, like there. I think that could be pretty fun.
That's got to happen.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's definitely do it. So, what are your favorite kind of games and flight tracks and planes? Can you give a little overview of those?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, apart from flying, like, I have now completed Half-Life Alyx.
Right.
With the Aero.
Yeah.
And again, it's just ridiculously good, isn't it? Like, my goodness me.
That is absolutely
it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I really love DCS. DCS is really improving hugely. And there's something about the flight dynamics in DCS that it really, again, makes you feel like a fighter pilot or something.
Right.
And they're study level aircraft, and you can really learn the switches, the systems and everything. There's so many sims. In fact, I use all the sims, to be honest.
With the DCS, the carrier takeoffs.
Yes.
Oh,
guys,
favorites.
seriously, I did the takeoff in that motion rig. I don't think that was on the recording. And any of you DCS fans out there, on the F-18, and I was there, full mil, and then suddenly I actually felt the kick going off the carrier and then back into land again. It's like, how has technology got to the point where we can feel that?
Exactly.
Insane.
It's one of my favorite things.
I want one of them.
Absolutely. So now the next, let's talk about a little bit about these kind of best tips and tricks. Like, you know, there's, as we know, Microsoft Flight Sim, for example, has tons of options.
Too many, if anything.
Varjo Base offers tons of options.
Yes.
And everybody have their own way of setting them up. So maybe we just go through some of the things that you do.
Of course,
and some kind of learnings that you have done, and maybe it helps some of you guys.
Hopefully,
to do your own.
Absolutely,
as well.
yeah, sure.
So I guess now we will change into here and look at this one here. So I'll take this one. Okay, so here what we are actually seeing is the
infamous setting screen.
Exactly, the setting screens for the Microsoft Flight Sim. So why don't you just, talk through some of the tips and tricks, some things that you usually fly with your setup?
Yeah, sure. Well, the first thing that struck me straight away was I was actually quite impressed with your settings.
Yeah.
Because if you notice, folks, a lot of things here, even though you're running a really powerful computer with a 3090, you've got things quite low.
Right.
And that's a good idea. It's the most stupidest
thing.
thing.
Which ones are, what are you referring?
For instance here, like the buildings and trees and everything, texture super sampling, and a lot of things, I mean, you've got some things on Ultra, which is fine, but mainly that is, quite mid to low settings. Yeah. And it sounds really ridiculous saying this, but the first thing you need to do is just lower those settings, guys. Seriously, you don't need to have everything on Ultra because you're in VR. If you was on a flat screen, then you kind of need that to compensate for the lack of immersion. But I've played the most simplistic games in VR, but it doesn't matter about graphics because you're within that space. Right. It's the same thing here. So just the first thing, simply lower your settings. Whatever you're using now, just lower them down. Because that extra bit of frame rate will be more important than a few more fluffy clouds, for instance. Because it's us. Yeah.
Is there anything specific here?
There is certain things that are huge, as I call heavy hitters.
Yeah. So which one?
Particularly, let's have a look here. If we go down a bit further here, ambient occlusion. At the moment, that's still a big one. I would definitely recommend switching that off. It is better now since Sim Update 10, but for my initial test, I haven't done loads of tests. There's definitely still quite a bit of a performance impact with that. Also, ray march reflections. I love what Asobo is doing there, and I think that's going to get better and better. But right now, some of these are, I guess, experimental settings rather than ones that have been really fully optimized. In fact, in some ways, I wish that it was kind of classed in like a different settings menu, classed experimental, because then you get more an idea of some of these settings. Because this sim is going to be around for a while, and it's going to mature and get better and better. But for now, guys, honestly, I know it's hard. I know you want to put all those settings to the right, and with the latest 4090, you never know, you might be able to get a bit better. But for now, ray march reflections, definitely have that off. And if you're using foveated rendering with the OpenXR toolkit, which is an amazing piece of software, thanks to all the members there, incredible bit of a kit that is an external program that allows the Varjo Aero to have eye tracking, which is a huge deal because I don't really know of any other VR headset that has managed to do that. So with the eye tracking enabled in the OpenXR toolkit, it's not a massive performance boost because it's not within the sim itself, but you do get at least about 5-6 frames per second in VR. Which is probably more like 12 frames per second. If you counteract that, which is a big deal as well.
Is there anything here?
We could spend a whole hour just doing this, but
no. But I think it's meaningful. I think
absolutely.
I want to learn.
Off-screen train pre-caching. That's a really important one. You need that on for VR, but maybe medium to high is enough because that is a heavy hitter. Level of detail. Now this is a funny one because with the Aero, I think this is, regardless of the clarity in the cockpit, the thing that got me about that headset the most was far away. You can look past where you would with any other VR headset, and you can see that tree, that hillside, that beach, that mountain that you never would be able to see because of the lack of screen door effect and those spherical lenses. Gives it that real clear display. Trouble is, though, that means that you can see the level of detail when it drops off. But that's fine. That's a bit high. I would actually recommend about 150 to 130 personally.
Let's do it.
It's funny because a lot of my Discord members are going to be in the chat, and they know more about this than me. I'm no expert, folks, but this is just what works for me.
I think these are the few of the things that I love to learn. From the community and because again, for everyone, it's the individual things depending on GPU, depending on the setup. But these are the things you can spend a lot of time if you don't have a help from the community.
Definitely. This is why my channel aims really to make sure that I give you the latest, best setup guides, not just for high-end computers, but for medium spec computers as well. That's going to be a priority, guys, for me. Because I do listen to your comments, and I know that sometimes it's not helpful having a setup guide from someone who's got the best computer in the world. So I will be thinking about that next in the next future videos. This one up here actually, because with the Varjo Aero, you want the best clarity. Of course, you want the best clarity. But for me personally, I do think that there should be 2 different setups depending on the flying you're doing. This is so important.
Okay.
If you're flying airliners and you want the absolute best clarity, if we just go up here, stick with TAA mode.
Okay.
100% on the render scale there. You want the best from the aero, you do, absolutely. But for those of you who like flying VFR, bush flying, that kind of thing, this is where Sim Update 10 has changed things, because you can now have deep learning super sampling, which is NVIDIA's
DLSS,
new AI tech. So if you put DLSS on, now at the moment, the thing is with DLSS, it's not all perfect, of course. People who want that clarity in the cockpit with glass gauges, it's not quite there yet, and that is Asobo need to do that. So if you're watching this, and I bet you are watching this, Asobo, thank you for all you're doing, but please make sure that that's a priority for you in the future for VR users, is to have better clarity in the cockpit. And what they're thinking of doing is basically negating the need for DLSS, so taking that option off, so the glass panels are still in TAA, whilst everything else is in DLSS.
Okay.
I think that's how I understand it, which would be that would be game-changing actually, because DLSS is a huge benefit. But I would recommend, if you're going to use that with the aero, you go to the Varjo base.
Okay, let's go to the Varjo base.
Yeah, performance or balance for that.
Great.
This is where I would recommend, and I would never dare do this unless you're using DLSS. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. Yeah, you can. Either upscale to 37 pixels per degree or 39. In fact, say if you're using a 3070, I'd recommend no more than that. But 3090 uses 39 pixels per degree with DLSS. Okay, that's important. DLSS needs to be enabled. That gives you really good clarity, but you also get really nice performance as well with that. And that's for people who like flying VFR. The clarity will still be great, don't get me wrong. It'll still be way better than, most things, most VR headsets out there. But that's what I'd recommend at the moment.
That's a really good kind of tips.
Absolutely.
Any other from the Varjo base that you...
well, personally for me, I have my display brightness on 75%, but that's a personal preference. And if you're the only one using the headset, you don't really need it to change the IPD every time. Just set it yourself. In fact, that's something that's important. Although, to be fair, I was about to say get your IPD measured at the opticians. But the aero gets mine exactly right anyway, so you don't need to do that. So.
It's great, and I think it's one of these kind of like comfort things. That you know that it's always right.
Absolutely. And in future videos, I'm looking forward as well to talking about motion prediction as well, because that is coming to the aero, of course. In the near future. And I'm really looking forward to posting content of that on the channel.
Absolutely.
And then, because I am a huge motion reprojection fan, and I think for flying low, that is so important.
Absolutely.
And I'm so pleased it's coming real soon to the aero.
We heard the feedback, and it will be there.
I was shouting about it quite a lot, so I'm pleased you're there.
Do you have any any ideas how to further make the Varjo base better for your use? Any kind of feedback or ideas?
From a very selfish point of view, and if Drew, actually another great YouTuber, Balgeode, if you're watching this, another fantastic VR fan. In fact, he's one of the reasons why VR came to Microsoft Flight Simulator so quick, because he went over there to test it out, and he said to the development team, we need VR, why is VR not here? So thank you for that, my friend. I know you're watching this.
From Varjo as well.
Yes,
well
exactly, totally. So the mirror of the Varjo base is fantastic, but if there's any way of getting that full screen for us VR YouTubers.
That's a great feedback.
We would really love that.
I'd love it as well. I'd love it.
And of course for you guys as well. You can get it like that with analytics.
With the analytics window, exactly.
But you still got those. I don't know how you do that from a technical standpoint, but it would be great for that to be a feature.
That's a great feedback. Great feedback.
And I think another thing for me I would like to see personally in the future is a way of bringing in windows in VR. So perhaps you have like a virtual desktop view.
But you can do it with Varjo Workspace.
Yeah, but the thing is, whilst still flying. So say you're flying in the cockpit and you have a little miniature window here, so you can still see the virtual desktop, rather than having to switch backwards and forwards.
Okay. Excellent.
But, that would be quite a cool feature. I'd like to see that.
We'll see what we can do.
Sorry, I'm being. I think that's the only two main things that I would like to see, because I think it's important that you've made this minimalist in terms of its resources. That's another thing that surprised me. Even though like the Aero's like 50% more resolution than say a Reverb, it actually performs better.
Yeah.
How on earth have you done that?
It's a secret.
Come on, tell me.
No, I think it's like I said, like we really have made these devices from the scratch up, the software, the hardware, and we really started from the professional. And this kind of like performance, there's a lot of hard, work and blood, sweat, and tears goes behind that. And that's one of the things that we are actually the most proud. That it's not only the kind of like the best visual quality, but actually the performance is high. So we did a lot of work to make it done. Maybe we can actually go back to the to the normal setting. But hey, big thanks for this
honestly,
one. And hopefully this got helped some of you to make it.
As I say, these things are just sort of these things are changing all the time and getting better all the time as well. So I'll make sure that I keep things up to date.
3.8 software. Coming later this year, and it will be great, better than ever. Okay, some things that I'm really curious to hear from you, a little bit about looking the future for flight simming. What's the future, and how should they develop? How to together work on that and make the future even better for the passion that you have and for the passion that we share at Varjo. So. How do you see how should the VR sims develop in the future? What is your dream come true for the Microsoft Flight Sim or any other software? What's the next step?
I think I do feel like VR has a very bright future ahead, particularly for flight simulation. Anyway, I really do, especially with you guys on board as well. But there is definitely things that need to improve hugely. We're still in the baby steps here. So the big thing is performance. We need that to get better and better, and that's nothing you guys can do, apart from obviously the Varjo-based software. And we can only wait for better hardware and better optimizations and things like that. But I want to see better use of technology like eye tracking. And hand tracking as well. I'd like to see that in the future as well develop. And actually, I want to show you guys something, a very first, and I got very kind permission from one of the engineers at Varjo who showed me something. And I don't know if you can see this on the camera. I'll just sort of show it up here, like that. I'm not sure.
You can show it to the camera.
Yeah, this is absolutely amazing. I'm just going to show you this. Can you see that there? There's a little switch here, okay? And what this does is, I love this so much. I might actually take it home by accident. No, joking. All right, so we put it around our leg like this. And what this does is this is just one little sort of switch. It's actually you can move it left, right, up and down, and it's a rotary knob as well with 2 buttons. And what this means is you never need to use the mouse ever again when you're flying. Because one thing I find quite difficult is the fact that, to replicate the mouse or have something better than just a mouse cursor is quite hard, isn't it, in VR, especially when you've got loads of dials. But with this, I tried this in DCS, and I'm going to show you a video of this in action on the channel when I get back. Is with the Varjo Aero's eye tracking in DCS, I was able to look around, change all the MFDs, all the autopilot, all the comms frequencies, just by looking where I want to go and then changing it with this. Such a simple thing. I think it's probably the next best thing to hand tracking. Hand tracking is the ultimate thing I want to see, where you're just using your hands to manipulate. But this is brilliant because that means that, especially for motion platform users and things as well, you can basically look around the cockpit and this dial will see exactly where you need to be. And it just makes things so much easier.
It's great that you brought it up. So we are doing these kind of prototypes here in our labs. Every now and then to explore like what is the future of interaction, how to use the eye tracking in the most optimal way, and that's definitely one thing. And I think what I love there is the tactile feedback.
Yes,
right? So
you can really feel that switch.
Exactly. So the idea is that you look at the switch, there's a kind of like focus goes to that switch, and then you just turn it around.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
It's a bit like a magic. So it's.
And there was a little demo that I tried where I had loads of boxes in front of me, and he said like try and get rid of the boxes just by using your eyes. Yeah. And that's where I realised the eye tracking on the Varjo is incredible. It's so fast.
So you would be using, if it would be part of the flight sim experience, this one?
That for me is an instant. I would use that for every flight. There's some things that happen in the VR industry or hardware, you know what I mean here, everyone in the chat, where you use it once and you wonder how you've managed to not use it before. You know, it's like, this is it now, I'm going to use this all the time. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things you need to kind of like experience.
Yeah.
If we would have told you about it, it would be like,
yeah, because I hate using the mouse. You know, you're in a cockpit and everything, and then you've got to use the mouse to kind of control things. Or you can use controllers, which I kind of like doing that. But with that, it's just strapped to your leg. It's always going to be on your leg. You know, you're always going to know where it is. And you just move around with your eyes. Right. And then just change things around. I think it's great.
Exactly. Yeah. Any other particular highlights that you are looking forward from the software or hardware or any?
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys are working on in the future, because VR is still, it can, for some people, be quite cumbersome, quite heavy, quite a difficult niche to get into. I want it to be easier to access, and then access so more people can get into VR. I mean, every time we have these surveys in the flight sim world, and every time these come out, more and more VR users are appearing. Like we're now up to about 15%, and that's you know, of the whole sort of community are using VR now, and that's going to grow and grow. So we need to, you know, make VR more accessible. I think it will get there. It will get there.
It will get there.
Absolutely.
And I totally agree. This kind of like democratizing this, making it more accessible, is you know, it's part of like, you know, all the companies that are working in this area want to do it from their own angles. And from Varjo, it's always been like the ultimate highest immersion, and you know, no trade-offs on the product, on the clarity, and many other companies make different kind of trade-offs then.
Absolutely,
but you know, that has been kind of the leading thought with Varjo from the beginning, that you know, no sacrifices on the visual clarity, and that has gotten here. So, but anyway, you know, I feel that this is a big part of the same community, different companies working on a different angle. So,
I will put you on the spot with one thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I get asked this all the time.
Yeah.
Another future I would like to see is better compatibility with different GPUs. Now, that's something that not only a lot of manufacturers are struggling with that in VR.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any way in the future, I mean, if you don't have to answer this now, but is it something you're aware of at least? Could we have better compatibility with AMD in the future, do you think?
Right.
You know?
At the moment, we are focusing on the NVIDIA.
It makes, because that is the better GPU, in my opinion, but you know, I know there's a lot of AMD users out there. Yeah. And it would be great in the future at some point whether that is something you could consider, because I know that a lot of people use AMD as well.
I mean, like we've been hearing that, and the way that we see it, we have a very, you know, good close collaboration with NVIDIA, and we have talked a lot. We have collaborated from the very beginning of Varjo, and like I said, at the moment we are on the train, and that's how we feel kind of like confident.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Like I say, personally, my own personal opinion is that NVIDIA are rocking it for VR anyway. When I have tried AMD systems, I've always been a bit underwhelmed, but I am looking forward to seeing what they can do in the future. I do think it would just broaden your audience more if we're able to get them on board as well. But who knows what will happen in the future? You never know.
Good. That was a really good question. By the way,
I know it was a difficult one, but I just had to get that in there.
No, it was a good question, and a question that we get a lot, and the answer is that, you know, at the moment, the NVIDIA GPUs are the way to go.
It is the better GPU. Yeah. Let's be honest. But you know, I had to ask.
Exactly. Okay. Cool. Maybe we should go now into the Q&A. So there's a lot of interesting Q&As that are coming through the chat. Thank you for those. Maybe there's a tablet for me. But also, if you have any questions about anything, you know, that you know are coming from the community.
I'll definitely have a think. That was the main question, that one there. But
I'll take, you can think about it, and I'll take a few here. So from your YouTube channel, I think comes a question that, is that the full 6 DOF motion unit back there? no, it's a trade-off. So what it cannot do, it cannot like rotate like sideways, so it's trade-off, but it's pretty amazing as it is.
You don't really miss that. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, cool. Steve, tell him to send me €1 and I'll look after the dogs for a weekend.
Oh, do you know what? I'll think about it.
One.
Brilliant.
Great. And there was this question about the motion reprojection.
Yes, yes. Well, obviously we mentioned it before.
Yeah.
But I really am looking forward to seeing that. And guys, I'm hopefully going to have a demo of that tomorrow, and I'll be able to make a video of that, and I'll put it on my channel as soon as I can, and give you my sort of thoughts on that. But you know, it's something that I know you are prioritizing now.
So yeah, exactly.
I've shouted about it long enough.
Like I said, I was just in our product leadership team meeting, and we talked about the importance of motion reprojection.
Yeah.
That feedback coming from the community, and I'm really happy to say that in the 3.8 there will be. There will be that. So that is now in the coming. That is in the making, thanks to the great feedback that you guys are doing. So you know, because of again the strong, great feedback of you and our engineers kind of working on it, that is something that is coming.
I can't wait for that one.
Can't wait for everyone to try it out. So so really.
That will mean, guys, you might not need that expensive GPU after all. You know, let's see.
Yeah. Okay. What are your recommendations to get 60 FPS with Varjo on IL2 with a good 3090 rig?
IL2 is really good in VR with the Aero, and I find of all the flight sims, IL2 is the best for performance anyway. So yeah, maybe I haven't really done a setup guide for IL2 ever. So maybe I'll have a think about that one and maybe make a video on that in the future, because it's a good question, but it's not something I can specifically say this and this in terms of settings. But you can get 60 frames per second easily in IL2 if you're just very mindful of it. So I know I can do it. So once I figure out how, I'll let you know in an upcoming video. I promise I'll do that one, because I get asked that a lot.
Excellent. Question from A Roman Noodle from your YouTube channel. When will Varjo products be more affordable? That's a great question. The way that, again, like spoken, we think about this, like our way of approaching, Varjo's way of approaching is that we want to make the absolutely best product that there is, and then work from that one. And Aero was one of those products, and yes, it's a little bit more expensive than some others in the marketplace, but it also comes with some things that some others don't have. So that's the way that we look at it. And also, I think a big part of that value is the future proofness of the product that we do. So it is something that you can rely on being the best for many more kind of years to come. So
build quality is astonishing. Yeah. I have all the VR headsets under the sun, and the quality, the build quality is exceptional.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, of course, you know, everything could be cheaper. Right?
Of course, yeah, we would love, and I'm sure as you know, technology improves, these things will come down in price. But when you're on the cutting edge of what's possible, particularly in the consumer space as well, you know, you do have to pay for that quality, unfortunately. It's just one of those things. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out in the future, as well as technology gets easier to access as well. Yeah.
So Simhanger flight simulation, how close is Varjo working with Ultraleap, and what are the development plans for the future? Yes, very close with Ultraleap. Maybe, you know, tried it with the XR3, the hand tracking with the VR3. It's the best. It's the best in the industry, and we are super happy about it. And yeah, it would be great to have hand tracking in one of these kind of flight simulators as well. But that is not yet at least something that I've seen, at least here. So, but yeah, Ultraleap, great company. We are super happy with working with them. From your YouTube channel, Hans Kron, is this motion system custom built, or does Varjo sell it as a kit? Unfortunately, we don't sell it. It was custom built by a great...
I've already asked that one.
great maker in Lahti region in Finland. It's pretty special. It is
one
of a kind. Same one, where can I buy this motion contraption? I can give you the details of that guy. Maybe he could do another one. I'm not sure of the price. What will follow the Varjo Aero for us flight simmers? We are always looking for the next big VR thing, anything in the planning stage. Like all companies, we are planning all kind of cool things, but nothing to talk about today. Varjo, have you given Steve a taste of Karelian stew?
Oh, I think you have yet, but we are.
It's traditional food.
There is still time.
There's still time, exactly. Is Varjo looking for a larger field of view? What are the implications for performance and headset comfort when increasing the field of view?
That's a good question.
It's a great question.
Nice.
You know, again, part of this absolute image quality and immersion is field of view, right? It's a super big thing of that one. There are headsets that, you know, have 2 displays like this. They're huge and give you a better field of view, and at the same time they do you know, sacrifice the image quality. So we are not ready to make that kind of like a trade-off. But of course, like I said, you know, when this technology goes forward, larger field of view is definitely one thing that we are looking after, because again, it improves the immersion. But the field of view should not come with a price of sacrificing the image quality in the middle or in the periphery.
Yeah, totally.
That's the hard. That's a true kind of like goal to go after, and that's where the hardest problems do lie. Okay. When can pass-through headset be expected for the consumers? Great question. Nothing to announce today, I guess, is the right question. But ultimately, what do you think as an enthusiast? You know, do you think a pass-through? What's the kind of like the value prop for you would be for a pass-through?
Great question. Yeah. And in fact, this is probably related as well to the future of VR. I really do want to see a point where VR and you know, augmented reality and VR come together seamlessly, like they do with the XR V3, which I'm looking forward to trying tomorrow as well. Another video I'm going to make. The huge deal here for flight simmers is that we do need to see our hardware. You know, whether we have a bespoke set of flight controls or whether we've got, you know, maps and charts that we need. So I know the XR3 can do that, but obviously that's high end. But as time goes on, I'm really hoping that, again, the technology comes down to a point where it's more accessible. So we're able to reach out and have things in VR around us that come into that virtual space. And for flying, I think that's actually a huge part of something that we really need moving forward. It's not so much important for, but even like race sims, so you can have your own race wheel in the environment, you know. That would be really cool.
It is, and it's part of like the professional simulators that we kind of like provide our technologies, and the most immersion comes that you can actually see your hands and operate with the real, real kind of like.
I'm looking forward to trying that. I haven't tried that out yet. But,
exactly. So cool. You know, and you know, when times, I do believe that when things go forward, these things that are now in the professional space, they do trickle down.
Yeah, definitely.
Eventually. When, nobody knows, but eventually. Cool.
I'll just have a question top of my head. But obviously, you know, outside-in tracking is the best form of tracking, isn't it? Particularly for motion simulators as well.
That's the most accurate,
I must admit, I'm a huge fan of outside-in tracking because it's just very accurate. But do you think there might be a time in the future where you might look at sort of inside-out tracking as a solution, just to bring the cost down as well for headsets?
Yeah, you know? I think this, when we started with Varjo, is that we kind of like wanted to, again, just like you said, focus on the quality, with the best tracking quality, with the base stations, and many of the customers that we have already kind of like had already purchased those base stations, so it just kind of like made sense to have it. In the XR3, we have a kind of like beta level inside-out tracking that is in there, and we are collecting feedback from customers all over. How does it work, and so on. But you know, ultimately, again, what I do believe, ultimately, you know, inside-out tracking will be a norm ultimately. When does it happen? That's a different question. But that is the ultimate direction. that we need to go forward. Cool.
Lots of questions. Nice one, guys. Keep them coming.
Urho Konttori here. Great. Okay, headsets get even better. But what's the next frontier in simulations?
Oh,
I think Urho is asking you.
That's a good question for me. I like that.
Yeah.
What's the next frontier in flight?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we are at a point where, like, wow, with Microsoft Flight Simulator, it's already at a point where I never expected to be able to fly around the world and like literally have incredible detail. So that does excite me greatly, and I think the whole progress of Asobo's giant sim that they've made is going to be exciting, because it's going to be a 10-year project. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes, really. But yeah, I think that sort of better performance in VR is something that is so important. But in terms of sort of what I want to see in the future, I just want to see Asobo and all of I just want to call them out. Lots of other flight sim developers take VR more seriously than they already are, because it really is the future for flying. There's no doubt about it, and I think more people need to realise that and sort of get on board with that. So flight sims can be predominantly VR first, 2D second, rather than the other way around at the moment.
Yeah.
Because that makes no sense to me. And it doesn't matter what sort of VR headset you have. I think once you've tried it, it's incredible. It really is. So that's what I want to see, better VR optimizations and performance as a general thing, really. Because I think we're already there in terms of the quality of the graphics and things and the systems. It's incredible what we have now. We've got DCS, we've got X-Plane, we've got IL2, we've got obviously, MSFS. We've got a whole range of sims, and I don't think there should be one sim to rule them all, because we need, like in the VR community and the VR development, we need all players to be moving the game on and pushing each other as much as possible. So I think it's the same thing applies, really.
Totally
flight
agree.
simming.
Totally agree. There's a question from YouTube, Ibrax, to VR flight sim guy. What about glasses? Can you wear glasses inside the headset? What's your...
I'm so rubbish at this, because that's one thing I never test, because I don't wear glasses. Neither does my family or my partner or my dogs. So literally, no one wears glasses in my house. But I presume you can wear glasses with the Aero, can you?
I do.
Yeah, well, there you are then.
And a big part of our headsets have been from the beginning that they can be worn with the glasses. I do need glasses with the VR. Incredible, but I do, and I use them, and they're comfortable, so you can do it.
To be fair though, I mean, obviously, I would highly recommend lens inserts, and I do have a variety of different sort of reviews on my channel of different lens insert providers, because I think that's one thing I do want to mention, actually, because the lenses of a VR headset are so important. Even for me, I don't wear glasses, but I do still have lens inserts, plano ones they're called, with non-prescription lens, just to protect your lenses, and maybe, like, say, I have a blue light filter on it as well, sort of thing. But yeah, you can, obviously, the best way to do it is to have a bespoke prescription lens, and then they go over the lenses, and then you never have to wear glasses in VR anymore. So that's the best way to do it.
Question, Edward S. I'm quite happy with the Aero. Great. We are very happy to hear it.
Good to hear.
What about the issue related to RTX 4090? Yes, the RTX 4090 is in our labs. There was a great picture in our Discord, and it's being worked as we speak. So yes, we will, make it work. Don't worry. Can you wear glasses? Yeah. Is Varjo happy with its, Nicholas, is Varjo happy with venture in the consumer markets? In other words, will Varjo be in the consumer market for the foreseeable future? We are very happy with the consumer, and especially the enthusiast prosumer market, where there's a need for this absolute immersion, highest level of immersion. And I think one of the testaments that we are happy is that we are here together today.
Says it all,
And we continue to be definitely interested in that market. We have learned so much, and it's so passionate and interesting, and it helps us to develop better technology and better products. So,
and one thing I didn't expect, because now I've been in, I'm here in your office, I've met all your staff, and I never knew how many of them were absolute flight sim fans like me. You don't realise until you meet everyone that they are as enthusiastic about flight simming and do it in their spare time as much as I do. Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool to know. So.
Exactly. Hey, for a flight sim guy, what's the most enjoyable scenic flight route?
Ooh, there's many of them out there. Whew, I would recommend, probably the best one I've done recently is probably Lofoten Islands, or Lofoten Islands, however you want to pronounce it, in Norway. They have really nailed the sort of peaks of the mountains there. So grab yourself sort of a little bush plane or something and just sit back and enjoy that incredible landscape. Either that or perhaps Innsbruck in Austria. That's somewhere I like to go. If I've just got a half an hour and I just want to relax, fly out of Innsbruck. The mountains there are absolutely amazing. And yeah, it's just such a great way to sort of chill out, relax, and just enjoy the view, really. So, and we're so lucky to be able to do that these days, you know.
Absolutely. I think we are now at the end of this session, and there's a lot of questions that we didn't have time to answer. We will be answering them in Discord later. So big thank you for everything. Is there anything else we should address? Pikko, Ben, all cool, Ida. Okay, so big thank you for everybody who were part of this one, and of course, most of all, Steve, big thank you, man, for being here for this session.
Pleasure.
This was an absolute pleasure for us, and I think that, you know, the call out, just like, you know, let's keep on doing a better job, and keep on giving us a great feedback, great questions through Discord. Join our Discord if you haven't been there. It's a place where the community meets, where we hear all the great kind of suggestions and ideas and feedback. And like I said, we are super committed to that one and making a better products in the future, and just, you know, being part of the community. So big thanks, and I guess nothing else than just see you next time on the next webinar, next community session. By the way, give us an idea. What would be ideas on what would be a great next community session, a topic or something we are super happy to do. Great. Any final thoughts?
Just thank you for entering the consumer space. You know, it was something that I'm very proud that I was a part of, and I was able to voice that movement. And I think from this point onwards, it's just going to get better and better. So yeah, it's all good. And thank you for allowing me to come here and chat to you guys. I mean, it's just amazing. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Now we will continue our other kind of program, maybe with the dinner and drinks. But thank you, everybody. Catch you on the next one.
Take care.
Peace out. Keep on immersing.